Episode 8, My 6-Point Plan for Energy Transition.
Previously on Energy Transition Crisis, prior episodes explained the importance of energy transition, laid out a plan to replace fossil fuels with clean energy, explained why a global energy crisis is unavoidable in the mid-2020s, explained geothermal renewable energy, and considered the pros and cons of conventional and advanced nuclear technologies. Now, in the final episode, Erik Townsend lays out his 6-point plan for solving the crisis and eliminating fossil fuel dependence by 2050.
In this final episode of Energy Transition Crisis, I'll lay out my 6-point action plan to accomplish energy transition and achieve net zero climate goals by 2050. Please engage with us in the comments below this video and other episodes in the series to express your own ideas on this most important topic of the 21st century. First and foremost, we the people need to work together to navigate the coming crisis. We must resist our politicians' attempts to divide us by making energy transition a partisan political issue. We should all take an interest in what's at stake, and we should all strive to personally understand the most important issues rather than just trusting our politicians to make the right decisions for us. Specifically, we need to promote better public awareness of energy's importance to our standard of living, and why our standard of living is now in decline as a result of increasing energy costs due to peak cheap oil. The energy we get from fossil fuels literally ended human slavery and makes it possible for most of us not to have to work on farms just to survive. So abundant energy is a very, very good thing for humanity, and we should want more of it, not less. The problem is just that we're getting our energy from the wrong sources. Energy transition away from fossil fuels in favor of clean energy is the single most important challenge humanity faces in the 21st century. But we're becoming divided by politics. Let's not allow that to happen. What Americans perceive science to say about climate change literally depends on what political party they're a member of, because both parties have aggressively subjected their constituents to messaging designed to persuade them that the other party has the science wrong. We the people need to get in touch with just how badly governments are screwing up this energy transition, and we need to find a path forward that unites us around a common goal that we can all believe in, rather than trying to divide us into factions who see one another as enemies. I propose that energy transition, rather than climate change, could be the uniting strategy that brings us all together. For those who believe climate change poses an existential threat to humanity, nothing could possibly be more important than building the green energy supply we need to end our addiction to fossil fuels. So it should be a no-brainer for those concerned about climate change that energy transition away from fossil fuels is the single most important challenge we face in the 21st century. For climate skeptics who are sick of climate hysteria and are more concerned about what climate policy is doing to gasoline prices, the logic is completely different. But the conclusion is ironically the same. While climate policy might be aggravating gasoline prices short-term, the true underlying cause of long-term high energy prices is peak cheap oil. As I explained in Episode 3, ESG-driven lack of investment in oil and gas exploration and production virtually guarantees that gasoline and diesel prices are headed much higher from here in coming years, and nothing can be done to change that. So regardless of whether you're a climate change crusader or a climate change skeptic, we need to replace fossil fuels with a cleaner and cheaper alternative. So the one thing that we should all be able to agree on is the urgent need to find cheaper, more abundant clean energy sources to replace fossil fuels. Whether your rationale for energy transition is to combat climate change, or if you're a climate skeptic who just doesn't like the idea of gasoline prices doubling every few years from here, the conclusion is the same. We urgently need to find cheaper, more abundant sources of clean energy to replace fossil fuels, and we need to upgrade all the world's systems and infrastructure to embrace those new clean energy sources. The only difference of opinion at that point between the climate activists and the climate skeptics should be why energy transition is so important. But both groups should recognize that despite opposite rationale, they have the same goal and should work together to achieve that goal. Building a global grassroots community of citizens knowledgeable about the challenges of energy transition is critically important. I've tried to do my part by self-producing this docuseries at my own expense and giving it away for free. You can do your part by sharing what you've learned with your family, friends, and neighbors. Next, you can encourage everyone you know, both in real life and on social media, to watch this free docuseries. If we can make this free docuseries go viral on YouTube, we have the opportunity to form a global grassroots community of energy-aware citizens who all work together to lobby our respective national governments around the world to adopt more prudent and effective energy policies. So please engage with us in the comments under every episode in this series and let us know your ideas. Let's come together and form a grassroots online community to solve this crisis once and for all. Second, we need to grow and mature our energy transition activism community to recognize that just stopping oil has always been a counterproductive goal. Millions of people around the world have become passionate about climate activism, and their hearts are in exactly the right place. But we're allowing ourselves to be divided by politicians who seek to make climate policy a partisan political issue. They encourage us to identify someone to blame and then treat them like a mortal enemy. That won't solve anything. We need to work together. The point we most urgently need to promote understanding of is that stopping investment in oil and gas exploration and production, ironically and counterintuitively, hinders rather than advances the energy transition agenda, as explained in Episode 3.
If there was a button I could press to stop all hydrocarbon usage today, I would not press it.
You would not press it
would cause
because...
human civilization to come to a halt.
Trying to phase out fossil fuels before phasing in viable replacements just plain doesn't make sense, and is only making the situation worse by annihilating spare production capacity, thus paving the way for skyrocketing energy prices in coming years that could threaten the entire global economy or even lead to global resource wars. Our goal should be to work together to aggressively build the 80,000 terawatt hours of clean electricity we need to completely phase out fossil fuels as soon as humanly possible. Fossil fuels will go away all by themselves just as soon as viable alternatives are introduced in sufficient scale of supply. So bringing that new clean energy baseload supply online is where we should focus all of our attention. Getting rid of fossil fuels before finding viable replacements should never have been our goal. Our goal should be to quickly build enough green energy supply that we no longer need fossil fuels, and that's a lot of green energy supply. Groups like Share Action undoubtedly have their hearts in the right places, but the sanctions they're imposing on the oil and gas industry are backfiring. Now, the sanctions are working very effectively, but they're working to make the situation dramatically worse, not better. The global energy crisis that will begin in the mid-2020s will have been directly caused by groups like Share Action and their well-meaning but badly ill-conceived tactics of activism. Third, we need to reverse the misguided aspects of ESG and invest aggressively in oil and gas exploration and production to start a years-long process that will eventually rein in oil prices that are sure to run away before new producing resources can be brought online from the investments I'm describing. A 5-year lag time from capital investment to price relief is typical, so we're doomed to suffer several years of skyrocketing energy prices no matter what. The sooner we recommit to investing in oil and gas exploration and production, the fewer the number of years the global economy will remain in the grip of a global energy crisis. Fourth, we need to promote much higher public awareness of deep geothermal renewable energy. This is a classic chicken and egg problem. Deep geothermal just plain isn't economic yet, and private investors aren't going to touch it until it is. But the whole reason deep geothermal isn't economic yet is that it's a niche industry that nobody knows about, that doesn't get enough capital investment. We need a deep geothermal revolution on par with the shale oil and gas revolution. I nominate the same team that took the trophy for shale oil and gas to do it again for deep geothermal. But it can never happen when less than 0.1% of the general population has even heard of geothermal or knows what it is. Fifth, we need to promote much higher public awareness of the real challenges of nuclear versus the perceived risks which were all solved decades ago, except that the solutions to those problems our parents' tax dollars paid for were never adopted and commercialized to make nuclear power as safe as it could and should be. The public needs to be involved in any decision to adopt nuclear power as the mainstay of our baseload energy strategy. And that means the general public needs to be made aware of the information about nuclear energy presented in this docuseries. Please do your part to help by sharing what surprised you the most in nuclear episodes 5, 6, and 7 with your friends and family. The public deserves to know the implications of energy policy. And since nuclear is absolutely essential to achieving energy transition, this docuseries was designed to empower you with the information you need to enlighten people in your community about true versus perceived challenges of nuclear energy. Sixth, and by far most importantly, we need to end the blame game of partisan politics and come together as a society across political boundaries and get everyone on the same page about why energy transition is so important. Then we need to stop believing the propaganda that meaningful progress is already being made when it really isn't, and come together to agree on a realistic plan to build out the 80,000 terawatt hours of clean electric generation capacity by 2050 that's needed to fully cure our addiction to fossil fuels. This must include a credible plan to upgrade electric grids and build infrastructure needed for energy transition. We need to have a public debate about energy transition policy, and that can't happen until the general public understands basic energy transition concepts. This docuseries was designed to give viewers a basic understanding of those concepts. From here, it's still your job to learn about competing points of view from groups like Share Action, which uses shareholder activism for the express goal of trying to force the phase-out of fossil fuels even before viable replacements have been phased in. They clearly have their hearts in the right place, but they've chosen a path of activism which I believe directly undermines rather than advances their own goals. It's your job to hear from a variety of different sources and make up your own mind. Just don't let anyone who makes up their own facts influence you too much. The most important part of point 6 is that we the people need to come together, look past the politicians' partisan propaganda, and reach agreement on a real plan for energy transition. The details should be decided through a process in which everyone has a say, so my own thoughts on such a plan are offered only as a starting point for discussion. I encourage everyone watching to engage in the comments below this video and let your own voice be heard. Opposing opinions and critical feedback are both welcome and encouraged, so long as it's done politely. The first and most important point is that we need all the clean energy we can get. So the only sane approach is to encourage aggressive development of all the clean energy sources discussed in this docuseries. We should allow competition to determine which clean energy source gets the most market share as we all work together to build 80,000 terawatt hours of new clean electricity by 2050. For wind and solar, my feeling is the more the better. This part of the green energy revolution is already well organized and making great progress. So my position is to keep the wind and solar coming. Society will take all you can give us and use it primarily as intermittent supply. Since this industry is already well developed, no further discussion of where the wind and solar capacity will come from is needed. I impose just one big caveat on my endorsement of wind and solar. If you're tempted to use batteries to make wind and solar suitable for baseload power generation, then please limit yourself to only using battery chemistries that don't compete with vehicle batteries for natural resources. We need to save all the battery metals we can possibly mine in the next 25 years for vehicle batteries. So if we're going to experiment with energy storage for wind and solar, we should do that only with batteries that don't rely on the same metals that vehicle batteries rely on. For deep geothermal, my opinion is that with a few exceptions in volcano country, the present state of the geothermal industry isn't ready for prime time, and unfortunately can't be relied on to provide a meaningful part of the electric generation capacity that we need in the time frame that we need it to solve the coming crisis. So unfortunately, my assessment is that geothermal won't help unless and until some sort of breakthrough occurs. We should do everything possible to bring about such a breakthrough, starting with funding geothermal research and development. We've given plenty of government subsidies to wind and solar industries, and geothermal is no less deserving of government research money. From there, we need government leadership to call upon the oil and gas industry to do for deep geothermal what it already did for shale oil and gas. I strongly advocate more investment in this important field, and I really hope we achieve a breakthrough that changes everything and makes geothermal our best baseload power option. But unfortunately, based on the facts and evidence at the time of this recording in July of 2023, it would be foolish to count on geothermal to contribute to the solution at all. We need a breakthrough before geothermal can play a meaningful role in energy transition. And unless and until we get one, we should look to other sources for the 80,000 terawatt hours of clean energy that we urgently need by 2050. Barring breakthroughs on other energy sources, which haven't happened yet, nuclear is the only rational choice to serve as the cornerstone of our baseload electric generation strategy. But public perception is so badly disconnected from reality with regard to nuclear that we can't possibly expect any real progress until more people develop awareness of basic nuclear energy concepts, just as they've already developed awareness of basic climate science concepts. Episodes 5, 6, and 7 of this docuseries were designed to start a public town hall conversation about the role of nuclear in the energy transition story. So if you agree, please do your part by promoting these episodes both in your real-life professional and social networks and on social media. And if you disagree, please engage with us in the comments below each of these videos to share your contrasting viewpoints. Or better yet, produce your own videos arguing a different point of view and post a link in the comments. We need to get public discourse going on energy policy if we want to save the world from the coming energy crisis. And that can start right here in the comments below this video. The staggering question is how to best embrace nuclear, when the one very real problem with nuclear power has not been meltdowns, but cost overruns on large bespoke nuclear plant construction projects. Cost overruns at the Vogtle project in Georgia literally bankrupt Westinghouse in 2018. So we clearly haven't cured our afflictions that prevent us from getting large bespoke public works projects done on time and on budget. My attitude is the more the better, provided that it's safe. So far as I'm concerned, the more AP1000-based, monster-sized conventional nuclear plants that we can build around the world, the better. Of course, I'd rather see molten salt than pressurized water coolants, but Generation 3 Plus pressurized water reactors are safe enough that we should encourage construction of as many of these plants as the industry is willing to build. The big caveat is that I personally don't think that large bespoke public works projects are the best way to really solve this problem. 80,000 terawatt hours is a whole lot of electricity, so we have a whole lot of nuclear reactors we need to build. We need the economies of scale inherent to assembly line manufacturing. To my thinking, the inescapable conclusion is that the core of our baseload power strategy should be the formative small modular nuclear reactor industry. Wind and solar are already on track to supply the intermittent electricity that we'll need beyond the nuclear baseload. So we need to do everything we possibly can to encourage the growth and development of the SMR industry in the West before China beats us to market, which is now unfortunately the base case outcome, in my opinion. But it would be crazy to suggest that SMRs alone should be the solution. Generation 3+ large-scale nuclear reactors and deep geothermal should be encouraged to compete with SMRs for baseload energy market share. May the most economically viable baseload clean energy source win. My personal favorite energy source for most economically delivering the 80,000 terawatt hours of clean electricity that we need by 2050 is definitely SMRs, and specifically SMRs which can be ganged together in the method proposed by Copenhagen Atomics to build multi-gigawatt large power plants in less time than was ever possible before. But only time will tell which technology innovations will prove most valuable. So let's let others with capital to invest choose their own favorites, and may the best energy source win the contest for investment capital. Overall, what matters most is that society as a whole needs to come up to speed on energy transition concepts, including nuclear energy concepts, just as many people have already become familiar with basic climate science concepts. We can't have an intelligent public debate about nuclear until everyone knows what a molten salt reactor is. We need everyone to just know as much about advanced nuclear technology as they already know about climate change. This documentary series was designed to get the conversation started, so please let us know what you think in the comments below this and all prior episodes. Now it's time to ask for your help, and don't worry, I don't want your money. The time and money that I spent self-producing this docuseries was proudly donated because I want to spend my retirement doing my part to help the world achieve energy transition. I'm not trying to make any money from this project, but I desperately need your help getting the word out about this free docuseries. The crux of the problem is that millions of people who are passionate about the environment and concerned about climate change have their hearts in exactly the right place. But they're being misled to believe that meaningful progress is already being made and that wind and solar alone are going to solve everything. This docuseries was designed to give everyone enough background understanding to form their own opinions and begin an informed public debate about energy transition and energy policy generally. I don't want or expect everyone to agree with me. I just want everyone to recognize the importance of energy to our standard of living and to form their own opinions. Energy transition is the most important challenge we face in the 21st century, so we all need to put our heads together to get it right. If we can form a grassroots community and make this YouTube series go viral, view counts in the millions will be the calling card that I'll use to march into the offices of Netflix and the other big streaming services and tell them, look, this is important, and millions of YouTube views prove that there's an audience for this message. So we need to ditch my low-budget self-produced docuseries and hire Werner Herzog or whoever the top documentary filmmaker is these days, and make the Hollywood version of Energy Transition Crisis, which takes an Oscar for Best Documentary and then changes the course of public debate the way Al Gore's film An Inconvenient Truth did back in 2006. That version might be narrated by Morgan Freeman and feature on-camera interviews with thought leaders in advanced nuclear technology and deep geothermal energy. But we need to make this version go viral right here on YouTube before any of that can happen. This YouTube channel is not monetized, and I'm not making a penny from this. We've set up a merch store at energytransitioncrisis.org where you can buy a t-shirt or polo shirt like the one I'm wearing now to help promote Energy Transition Crisis. But I don't make a penny from merch sales. It's a pass-through to the print-on-demand vendor who actually makes and drop ships the merch, which makes a great gift and can be shipped anywhere worldwide. I'd originally planned to decree that I'm not trying to make any money from this project, so I'm not even accepting donations. But what I didn't know is that the most effective way to make something go viral on YouTube is to bribe Google with advertising payments. You see, in YouTube parlance, advertising means paying YouTube cash bribes to get them to tweak their algorithms to recommend Energy Transition Crisis to more users. So I need to be a little more precise. I'm not trying to make 1 penny of profit from this project for myself, and I'm actually reaching into my own pocket to spend several $1,000s a month of my own money initially on YouTube advertising to launch these videos. If you're willing and able to help, we've set up a donations page where you can contribute to the advertising fund. I pledge that I will not keep 1 penny of the donations received for myself. Other things you can do to help the cause are to teach the information you learned from this docuseries to your family, friends, and colleagues, and to share links to all the various episodes on social media. Hit the like button on every single episode, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, engage with us in the comments below each video. The YouTube algorithms put a lot of weight on how many comments a video gets when deciding which videos to suggest to other users. So every time you post a comment, you're actually helping that episode to reach more people. Finally, still another way to help the cause is to promote energy transition crisis to educators and the media. Is there a school teacher in your personal or professional network who might take an interest in showing this docuseries to their students? If so, please let them know about it. Are you affiliated with any environmental or climate-related activism groups? If so, please pass the word about this docuseries. Are there any podcasts with large audiences that you think I should be interviewed on to spread the word about this project? If so, please send them a note and request me as a guest. As a podcaster myself, I can assure you that several requests from regular listeners always carry a whole lot more weight than a guest pitch where the guest is pitching themselves. So you can get me on to Joe Rogan with this message about energy transition much more easily than I can get myself there. It's numerous, separate, unrelated requests from listeners that will give me the opportunity to spread this message to a wider audience on the biggest podcasts. And Joe Rogan is a great place to start sending those requests. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to engaging with you in the comments under every episode of the series. For Energy Transition Crisis, I'm Erik Townsend.
Energy transition cannot occur until the people of the world stop tolerating government inaction and demand progress toward building the clean energy we need to break our addiction to fossil fuels. So please like and subscribe, but more importantly, engage with us in the comments below this video and let your voice be heard. You'll also find transcripts, merch, and more at energytransitioncrisis.org.